Eleanor was a 12-year-old girl who lived in a small town. She often felt lost in the real world. Adults were always busy, and children were forgetting how to have fun. One afternoon, while walking in the forest behind her house, she found an old wooden door covered in green moss. She was curious and opened it. Suddenly, she was pulled into a strange place. Eleanor woke up in a small street in Avalia, an old kingdom that looked sad. The houses were beautiful, but there was no laughter. People walked past each other without speaking. An old woman named Lucia came to her and said,
"You are the only one who can see Avalia like this."
Lucia explained that Avalia was once a happy place. But over time, people became cold and forgot how to be kind to each other. However, not everyone wanted the kingdom to change. There were forces in the shadows that thrived on people's indifference. Lucia told Eleanor that to bring warmth back to Avalia, she had to remind people of what they had lost. Before Eleanor could respond, the wind howled, and dark figures flickered in the distance.
"Go,"
Lucia urged.
"Find those who still have a spark of hope inside them. Help them remember. But be careful, the shadows will try to stop you."
Eleanor wandered the town and met a blacksmith named Henry. He used to have a happy family, but he lost them because he only cared about success. His forge was filled with gold and fine weapons, but his heart was empty.
"I don't need anyone.
Henry muttered as he hammered steel.
Hard work is what matters."
Eleanor noticed an old, unsent letter on his table, one he had written to his daughter but never delivered.
What if you could still reach her?
Eleanor asked. With some encouragement, Henry finally agreed to send the letter. Just as he was about to give it to a messenger, a hooded figure appeared, snatching the letter away.
"This kingdom does not need sentimentality. Stay in the past, and you will never survive."
It sneered. Eleanor chased after the figure, determined to retrieve the letter. She fought through a maze of narrow alleys, finally confronting the figure, a young man with hollow eyes. She looked at him and said,
"You were hurt before, weren't you? That's why you fear emotions."
The man hesitated, his grip loosened, and the letter fell to the ground. Then, without another word, he vanished into the night. Henry, watching in shock, picked up the letter and whispered,
"I won't make the same mistake again."
Eleanor walked into a dark forest. She saw a lion caught in a trap. Everyone was afraid and stayed away. Eleanor was scared too, but she decided to help the lion. As she freed it, she heard whispering from the trees.
"She is interfering."
A voice hissed. Shadows moved, forming into figures with glowing red eyes. One of them stepped forward and said,
"You should not be here. Leave before you regret it."
Eleanor stood firm.
No. This world needs change.
The shadow reached for her, but the lion roared, sending the figures retreating. Eleanor realized that true courage was not only about facing fears but about standing up to those who spread fear. Eleanor met a man named Adrian. He made beautiful masks, but he never showed his real face. When Eleanor asked,
"If everyone hides behind a mask, how can we understand each other?"
Adrian froze. Before he could answer, the shadowy figures returned.
"Take off your mask, and you will be nothing."
They whispered to him. Adrian trembled. Eleanor stepped forward.
"That's not true. The real you is stronger than anything they say."
With a deep breath, Adrian removed his mask. The shadows shrieked and faded, unable to hold power over someone who had accepted himself. Adrian looked at Eleanor with tears in his eyes.
"Thank you. I had forgotten who I was."
When Eleanor returned to the town square, she saw that the people of Avalia were different. They started talking to each other again. The town was becoming warm and friendly. But the shadows still lingered at the edges, watching, waiting. Lucia gave Eleanor a silver necklace and said,
"Remember, the world changes when we open our hearts. But there will always be those who fear change. Never stop shining your light.
Eleanor opened her eyes and found herself back in the forest behind her house. But now, everything looked different. She did not feel lost anymore. She understood that magic is not just in fairy tales. It is in the way we live, with love, gratitude, and courage. But as she walked home, she noticed something strange. The silver necklace still hung around her neck, and in the shadows of the trees, a pair of glowing red eyes watched her.